Hello everyone, welcome to my 8-minute video presentation. My name is Raymond Napolis and my topic is on genetic editing. To get into it, let me give you a rough, quick explanation on how genetic editing works. This is a CRISPR enzyme, and essentially this enzyme is able to deconstruct DNA, remove pieces of DNA, and even can be programmed to replace pieces of DNA with other DNA. This can be used in all kinds of creatures, from plants, animals, and fish, and human beings. And for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to be focusing on human beings. Here are just a couple examples of the benefits of using genetic editing, which on the left here, we have a boy who essentially suffers from the nicknamed bubble boy syndrome, where he is stuck inside of this bubble and his body does not have the proper immune system to kind of fight off bacteria that is found outside of that bubble. And so he is a great example of a disease that can be cured using, not exactly cured, but prevented from ever existing before he's born, using genetic editing, essentially fixing the DNA that causes this disease. And on the right, we have somebody who is currently 40 years old and is currently being treated using genetic editing. He currently suffers from Hunter's syndrome. Another use of genetic editing is what some people refer to as a designer baby, which essentially allows a parent before their child is born to tweak certain aspects of the child's DNA. For example, changing their eye color, their hair color, their skin tone, or maybe even their facial features. To take things a step further, they can also do things like enhance the child's potential IQ in the future, their athletic ability in the future. They can even do things like prevent the child from inheriting a hereditary disease from their parents. Now that I've given you a rough idea of how genetic editing can be used, I'd like to propose a scenario. We have baby A and baby B. Baby A has undergone genetic editing, and we'll say for this case has undergone just about every kind of genetic editing that can possibly be done. They are more resistant to diseases. They are not going to inherit their parents' hereditary disease. They are genetically altered to be better looking, smarter, more athletic in the future, taller, to age better, etc. Baby B is a completely and entirely natural baby. I would also like to point out, although I won't focus deeply on it in this presentation, that baby A may very likely cost more money than baby B would. I don't mean cost as in future costs, like feeding, but it's likely to cost more in the sense that the procedure to undergo this genetic editing probably will have some sort of monetary value. It isn't the sort of thing that will just be done for free. So, just to keep it in mind, it's worth pointing out. So the question is, will the altering of baby A's genes pose some kind of a problem for baby B in the future? Well, to answer that question, why don't we skip ahead, say 30 years. So here we are 30 years later, and clearly you can see that there's a difference between the two. Despite the fact that they're the exact same age, clearly baby A looks far younger. Top of this, to talk about the lives they've lived, baby A has always found it easier to focus in class as a result of his higher IQ. He always understood the subjects. Top of this, he's also found it extremely easy to be an athlete, regardless of what grade level, high school, college, anything. He was always close to the top of his team, and as a result of it, we'll even say that he got a full ride scholarship to college. He's also looking extremely healthy and younger than he is. On the other hand, we have baby B. As a result of the lack of genetic alterations, baby B is suffering from certain hereditary diseases from his parents. He has ADHD and maybe even diabetes. As a result of these things that he's been dealing with since he was a young age, he's found a hard time to focus on classwork, struggled in school. He also isn't very athletic. He packs on weight easily, we'll even say. So as a result of all of this, he has a lower IQ, he's unathletic, he goes to a community college, and he has to visit the doctor every year. Baby A basically forgot the doctor existed, and baby B clearly looks older than he is despite only being 30 years old. So back to the question. Will this cause some kind of problem in the future, assuming these two individuals could exist at the same time in the same world? In my opinion, absolutely, this would be a problem. Even if you don't consider money, if you somehow have a scenario in which we have children that are altered greatly in every single way, absolutely unhindered alterations to the child, visually, mentally, all their capabilities and their ability to resist diseases, everything. And then you have children that are completely natural. Although obviously this will always be the case, if there is a massive gap between how many children are altered and not altered, then this would cause problems. And how they're altered is probably the biggest problem. Because in this situation, if we had these two people, and if we used baby A as a group and baby B as a group of individuals that are altered and not altered, we'd probably find a scenario where the altered children of the world find themselves in upper levels and positions throughout all kinds of institutions. They are the vice presidents, they are the CEOs, they are the successful businessmen, whereas baby B, this group, assuming it was, would instead be the worker bees. These are the people that struggled through life with all the kinds of, whatever problems that may arise, whether it's a hereditary, mental, or some kind of disease, or maybe it was just genetics, their natural born genetics. So clearly, on one hand, the altering of genetics can be extremely beneficial, preventing diseases before they even form, reducing the number of hereditary diseases in people. And the best part is that if we did do this, if we did implement a kind of widespread use of small amounts of gene altering, we'd be able to seed out hereditary diseases quickly. Let's say you have a 100% chance of getting diabetes from your parents. If we say we go down 3 generations later, it's not going to be 100% anymore if those 3 generations were altered to not have it. Their DNA is now different, and they'll pass on a different DNA to their children. So the idea here is that although gene altering can be extremely beneficial, it can also be very dangerous to society as a whole, in terms of diversity, in terms of potential and fairness and balance. And that's the core of this, is I believe that there needs to be a balance between the use of genetic altering and what is considered to be natural. There needs to be some extent of ruling, or some lines that need to be drawn that say, perhaps, maybe you can't adjust the way that your baby looks. Maybe you shouldn't adjust the potential of your baby. But maybe we should give your baby the best chance at living a healthy life. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.